Good day, everyone. If you hit the brakes and your steering wheel vibrates like this, watch this. There you go. It's vibrating. We're going to do it again. Hang on. There you go. Just like that. Then you need front brake rotors. That is the problem. So today's vehicle, we're going to try to save some money because these BMWs are expensive to fix. This one is a 2011 BMW 328. It is an all-wheel drive, and it's definitely a lot more money to fix than your older vehicles. That is for sure. Okay, let's pan in for a closer look. And we should always be wearing a mask when we do brakes because there's a lot of fine dust that can be created. And believe it or not, there is a possibility that you may have asbestos in your brake pads. That's right, you may. Now, in Canada anyway, asbestos was not banned in aftermarket parts until 2019. So unless you're the original owner of the vehicle, you don't know what's in the vehicle. So it's best to be careful because people start running like crazy as soon as they hear the word asbestos. So you just want to make sure you rinse your brakes off good. And this way, any dust, any fine particles, stuff like that, they're going to flow down and you can just safely discard of it all. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that. Just a little quick warning. So let's pan in here nice and close. Now, we're just going to do the front rotors, but if you were going to do the front pads, you would just remove these two plugs here and you will find Allen bolts under them. I'll just show you very quickly. There you can see I'm just popping them off right there and you can see there's Allen bolts behind them. But we're going to put the plugs away because the trick to doing this job really fast is to remove it all as one unit. So when you're doing that, most importantly, if you ever have to hang the caliper or the caliper bracket, you definitely don't want to stretch that brake hose. So you're going to want to make sure that you have something to hang it on. So you can see I had that little rubber thing there. I'll hang it on that. Now I'm just using my impact gun and I'm going to take out the two bolts. You're only going to take out two bolts and that will basically allow us to remove everything as a unit. And I'll zoom in here. You can see it's a 16 millimeter bolt. So that's the size of the socket that you're going to need to take out these two bolts. So now all we have to do is we're just going to wiggle it around. There you go. You can see I'm wiggling it around and I'm going to take the whole thing off. Now be careful because it is kind of heavy. So here you can see I'm just going to rest it up top here. I do have my rubber bungee cord if I do need it, but maybe it'll just stay here on its own, but we're going to have to be careful because we definitely don't want it to drop. In the front rotor, you need a 6 millimeter hex key to remove that set screw. That set screw is what holds the rotor on. Don't forget to remove that or you're never going to get your rotor off. And most of the time, these actually come off pretty easy, these BMWs. For some reason, I don't find them rusted and I usually don't have to use a hammer unlike some of the other vehicles. Here you can see, here's a rotor. I just took it off and you can see it's quite a bad surface. So that definitely contributed to our pulsating brake pedal and our vibrating steering wheel. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some music on, throw up some words, and take a little bit of a different approach just so you don't have to listen to me for the whole job. And I will jump back in when it's time. Okay guys, sorry to interrupt the song, but I had to jump back in just for this part here, just to explain what I'm doing. I'm taking an old pad spreader. I don't even use this one anymore. I guess I do. I use it for jobs like this, but I have a much better one that I use all the time now. But anyway, this one's used for jobs like this where it's really tight between the pads, the space there, and you really don't have to move the pads much. Remember, we didn't do a brake job. All we actually did on this vehicle is change the rotor. So we only have to move the pads in maybe a millimeter or two. And yeah, I did, if anyone was paying attention there, I did pop the plastic plug off the back there when it was touching it to the rotor. But I'll just make sure I get that back in. But anyway, back to the music. Okay, so what tools did I use for this job? Well, 17 millimeter for the tires, 17 mil deep socket to take the tire off, 17 mil short with a torque stick to put it back on. If you don't have a gun and these, it's fine. 1/2-inch breaker bar will do, not a big deal. I used this little doohickey just to push the pads back in. They only had to go in about 1 millimeter, so really not much, maybe 2 millimeters, and that was just because the new rotors are a little bit thicker, obviously because they were brand new. Then I had a 16 millimeter socket, so one on the swivel, and that was to get the bolts off, but you really don't need the swivel one. You can just have a 16 millimeter deep on a 1/2 inch works just fine. You can do that. And then just a 6 millimeter Allen key, and what that was for the set screw on the rotor. So really, that's all I used. Not a heck of a lot of tools, really simple jobs. Any questions, anything like that? Let me know. Other than that, GarageKing over and out. See you on the next one.